Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. My name is Giridhari and today we're asking an interesting question. What would Jesus do for Christmas? Let's take a look at Christmas from that point of view. Maybe you can think of a better way to celebrate your Christmas. So let's take a look. Let's look back to the obvious. You've heard this a million times, but just to state the obvious here, you know that Christmas, of course, this date was chosen, was really, and historically, it was winter solstice. It was a great festival celebrated in pagan Europe to celebrate the beginning of the end of the dark nights of winter. So it was a very important natural celebration. And as Christianity advanced through Europe, they used that date. They just converted that date to the Christian ideals, and they called it Jesus' birthday. Of course, nobody has any idea what Jesus' birthday really is because there's almost no information on the historical Jesus. Actually, what we have in the New Testament, the Gospels we have, is really like the best source material for historians. So there's nothing to go on from there. So we have no idea when Jesus was actually born. But they picked that date. It was a good date. People had the celebrations going and just converted that day into Jesus' birthday date for Christmas. So that, of course, wasn't what was really going on. But what about this idea we have for Christmas, this thing with the big family and the presents and all this, gathering the family and exchanging presents and a big feast? That's also quite recent. It was actually developed more towards the Victorian era. In the Victorian era, as you know, here in the UK, I'm recording from the UK, in the Victorian era, you had this, great burst of opulence from the Industrial Revolution and the British Empire spreading. So things were getting opulent in the sciences. There was this great increase in prosperity all round, and more urbanization and more development technology. So there was all these things going on. And at this time is when we start having this idea of the big feast, of the whole family getting together, and of the exchange of presents. Actually, they say even that the royal family has a part in that because they kind of stimulated that image at the time in the Victorian era. So even this idea we have of this Christmas is also something that was produced quite recently. Now, let's look at Jesus. So now, of course, Jesus, he wouldn't celebrate Christmas because there was no Christmas, right? Jesus was a Jew and he only celebrated Jewish events, of course, like Passover. So he was only focused in the traditional Jewish festivities. And there was no such thing, of course, as a celebration, neither for winter solstice in Jerusalem, nor in Israel, nor was there any idea of course, a Christmas passage. So he obviously wouldn't do anything for Christmas in that sense. And let's look at the version we have of Christmas today. So what about all this whole thing focused on family, right? Christmas has become a big family event. But was Jesus really into family? It's really interesting because, of course, the Christian church, especially the modern Christian church, promotes this whole thing about family and, the importance of family. But actually, Jesus was at all into family. He wasn't. He was kind of anti-family, to be honest. You can see there in Matthew 12:49, and he says, "Who are my mother and my brothers?" he says. And then he says, "Anyone who does the will of my Father is in heaven is my brother, my sister, and my mother." So he really had this purely spiritual outlook, seeing that we're all souls. We're all connected as souls. We have the one Father of God. That is the spiritual view you have also in my tradition, in the yoga tradition. It's just we're all souls. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I am father, I am mother, I am the grandfather. So we are a whole family, not just the humans, every living being, not just on earth, but everywhere in all the universes. So that proper spiritual vision of family, we are all one, is what Jesus had as well. And he was not at all into actually family. He was actually urging his followers not to get into that either. Even getting married was not something at all recommended at the time of Jesus, because remember, Jesus thought the world was about to end, and he was preaching the end of the world. He was an apocalyptic Jew. So it was like, why would you get married? The world's gonna end next Thursday. It's like, that'd be crazy, right? You're gonna get married, and the world's about to end, like literally any day now. So it wouldn't make any sense to get married. What you have to do is just prepare yourself for the end of times, for the end of the world. Don't worry about getting married. There's no such thing anymore. So family, getting married, that wouldn't make any sense for Jesus. So he wouldn't be into inviting family over. Now, what about giving presents away? Now that would really annoy Jesus, because Jesus was hardcore detached. He was hardcore detachment. I mean, he was right on the same level as you see in the Vedas of all those like renounced yogis. He was a proper sannyasin. He was so anti-stuff. He says also in Matthew 19:21, he says, if you want to be perfect, go and sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then, only then, come and follow me. So he was like, okay, you want to join the Jesus crowd? Okay, sell everything, donate everything you have. I mean, you couldn't bring a backpack with you. It was like, can I just like bring a little U-Haul van with my favorite stuff? No, you couldn't bring a cart, you couldn't bring even a backpack. It's just like sell everything and give it away. Because again, in the apocalyptic Jewish outlook, if you had stuff, since the world was evil, if you had stuff, you were on the wrong side. Everybody who had stuff, the more power and wealth you had, Jesus thought, the more you are involved with the evil regime of the current existence. And so when this is going to end, which is going to end again any day now, and then the kingdom of God will come, kingdom of heaven will come down, then you'll be judged, because you were like, oh, you were participating in that evil existence. So if you get rid of everything, if you have nothing, that's why the meek shall inherit the earth. If you have nothing, then you'll have everything. That was the way it worked. Like, you will actually get stuff. You'll have lots of stuff. You'll be rich. You'll have a treasure in heaven. So it's not that he wanted, like, you can have stuff, but only have stuff in the real world, in the kingdom of God that's about to come down and be installed here on earth. So definitely no giving presents away. So here we have Jesus. He's not calling family over. He wouldn't be, getting presents to give. He wouldn't be suggesting that anybody give presents or get presents. He's telling people to get rid of everything and donate to the poor. So what does that leave you then? Well, that leaves you, should leave you understanding that Christmas, of course, is a complete fabrication in all sense, even in the religious aspect, and certainly in the whole, like the family and the present. It's a complete fabrication, and you don't have to do any of that. You should not worry about any of these things. That's what I would say to you. Do Christmas whichever way you want to do. Make the most of it. Sure, there's a nice mood. People are like feeling a little more joyous, maybe they want to get together. Family, great, do that. Just out of love, focus on the nice part. Just be present, enjoy it. Don't get into it. Don't feel obligated, because for some people it can be quite torturous, this whole Christmas season because they don't have family, they don't want to get together, maybe they can't afford to buy presents. So it can be quite torturous, this whole thing. So you can just, don't worry about it. It's all made up anyways, got nothing to do with Jesus. Jesus would have nothing to do with these festivities. It goes quite against everything. Actually, it's the opposite, diametric opposite of what he would be doing. So he would have nothing to do with this. It's all made up. Don't worry about it. Just just go with it. Feel whatever you want to. Don't do anything. It's fine, because it's completely made up and has no real basis to it. So that's it. Have a rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love. Hare Krishna.